Still some folks out by the door. Yeah. It's nice to see so many people in the seats for the last session. So either you have nothing to do or you really want to be here. Well, it's been a long week. A lot of new things, a lot of nice things, a lot of wow things. My name is Adnan Hendricks. I'm an independent consultant based in the Netherlands, but I also work in the States. In fact, I work worldwide. And we're in such a fortunate time right now as IT guys, because it seems like there's a whole big paradigm shift, or at least another wave coming, where we're going to need to change how we work, how we think, and the way we look at things. So we're going to need to change our perspective on the way we offer IT to our end users, to our companies, and also privately, because we are end users as well, right? So my session ideally is based on the whole new changes, the vision of Microsoft, where tied in with the Windows 10 client, you can take full advantage of the cloud offering. If at any time you guys want to ask a question during the session, you can just raise your hand and I'll answer. Or afterwards, you could just tweet me on @microspecialist. Let's say tomorrow or Monday, trying to think of something, and it might be of benefit. Before I get started, who's already running Windows 10 for that company? Okay, that's nice. Windows 7 or, yeah. 8.1, maybe? Okay. And then there's the question I always ask. XP. It's always one or two guys. They have their reasons. But I'm hopefully going to give you incentive to move as fast as you can, and also to show you how easy it is to move. So to get started, there's already been a large momentum. A lot of devices already running Windows 10. And it pretty much kicked off the whole new way of work. I mean, we went from a application, 32-bit application model, Win32, to an app model. So that was new. But we still have that old applications running. Maybe that's the reason for the guys still running XP. I hope that's the only reason, and not security. Because Windows 10 is really where you want to be for security. Constantly evolving, constantly changing, hardening against all the current threats that's available right now. Threats that don't even exist yet. So, plus 60 million enterprise users can't be wrong. And it's the most compatible Windows ever. Running on Windows 7 hardware, running the same applications. So it's quite stable. Quite stable, including for those of you that are using your web applications as an excuse. It came with two browsers. It's got the modern browser, Edge, for the new standards, HTML5, and also with the new security features that dropped support for ActiveX and all the old legacy things. It also contains Internet Explorer 11. For that backwards compatibility for all your old applications that still require the old legacy add-ins and components. Now, I've done a session in the week about application compatibility to kind of help you guys migrate and also test your applications, play around with it, and move to Windows 10. So have a look in the schedule to catch that one. It will be the last browser. So there won't be a new update to that product, but it will be maintained to function as it's functioning now and to support what it's supporting now. But ideally, you're going to move to Windows Edge. Companies are more agile with Windows. It's got better features, faster. Who's using the feedback hub? Not so many. I suggest you guys try and use that because Microsoft is listening. Especially if you're a Windows insider, you actually help evolve the product, where all your special comments, your feedback is listened, and also any bugs that needs to be fixed gets fixed before the release. So in that way, the product is kind of dependent on your assistance in making it a great product. So the security I mentioned, the flexibility and control with new hardware that's available soon, and also the cloud services. You guys probably saw a lot of videos through the course of the week and a lot of demos on how the cloud integrates seamlessly with this client, Windows 10. You can use your Azure AD account to sign in, Microsoft account. And the cloud integration helps to keep it current. Think of Windows updates, Windows as a service, where no longer we need to deploy in a wipe and load scenario, but just with installing an update, a feature update. I wanted to show some of the nice hardware that's available soon. Virtual reality, consoles, motion controllers. I think we've pretty much hit the future now. And with all the new AI work going on, big data, all the analytics on that data, we can make use of that information as well. And the processes to kind of help streamline our own work and our own processes. Simplified feature updates for not just Windows, but also Office 365. And for those of you that are using Configuration Manager, will have noticed that that product ties in with the releases of these two. Because that product is the default deployment tool for Windows. Who's using Office 365 with the application? So quite a lot of you. That's great. And the reason is it uses that cloud update mechanism. So it stays current. It stays protected better than having an installed version. You've probably heard all the technical lingo that current branch is now the semi-annual channel. And for those of you that have sensitive machines, you still have a build called long-term servicing channel, which you get every couple of years, but it's stable for 10 years. But ideally, you want to use this semi-annual channel to kind of stay up to date, making sure you're getting the latest security features. I don't have to scare you with slides that show you this has been hacked, that has been hacked. We've all had our information on the street at some point in time. And it's never our fault. You sometimes have to trust another company with your information, but then they don't have their IT in order. So these two products' release schedules have been aligned. pretty much identical to kind of keep up to speed with all the new features and functionality and availability of these different products. I've mentioned Windows as a service. People used to think it's a separate product. It's ideally a service, meaning to keep your version of Windows as up to date with the new build as possible. And there may be reasons, like some of you that are still sitting on an old OS, that if you're sitting on 1607 or 1703, that you might not want to move immediately to the next build. You can postpone it. Get your testing process in order. Get that whole channel aligned to make sure that all your applications are tested. And the minute you are happy that everything's working as you want, then you can push the new updates to everybody. And it's just running an update. No wiping, no loading, no reinstalling applications. An in-place upgrade of Windows 10. So for those of you that are running Windows Insider Preview, you're helping to create the product to be what it is. It's really available to you so that you can do pre-release testing. Pre-release testing with your applications, generally running on IT guys' machines to make sure that it's working with the hardware and with the standard offering of applications. The semi-annual channel targeted is what you'd set up as your test clients. So you'll create a group of early adopters in your family of computers in your company for your initial devices to get that Windows build and test it. And especially, or at least my advice to my clients, is don't just use IT. Quite often we only ask IT to test something, or we set up special test machines where somebody would be scheduled for an afternoon or half an hour. You guys know what I'm talking about. You know, that's not really good testing. You want somebody to use that as the daily machine for weeks so that all the applications get tested, all the services get tested. Because it's not just testing compatibility of an application running, but there's a lot of integrated components. Some of you have standard processes and services that need to run and work with certain network components. So you need to create an environment where you really set up a strategy to have this tested and key users within your organization in all business units. Even somebody on C-level, well, CEO level. Okay? And the nice thing is, you could give them a new laptop. You know, here's a gift. It's running the latest, faster version of software. And people seem to like that. And once you've got your test process up and running, you set up your semi-annual channel or your global group of end users. Now, I always advise having staggered groups in your company. You could have 2, but you might require specific bills for specific purposes, where some people would say, well, you know, during this time of the year, we're quite busy. Think of finance that has a special time of the year, maybe some engineering teams doing development and research that have their own time frames. So depending on your organization, you want to stagger or have a global semi-annual channel group for when you and your company or enterprise are satisfied that that build is suitable for use and compatible with all your applications and services. And then for those of you that run special mission-critical systems, and there's a caveat to this as well, and it stands in the licensing, that this is for special machines only, and not for an end user machine. So nothing that runs Office or nothing that is used for administration. So special machines, some financial or investment companies have those, some mining companies have those that run or drive machinery and run special software where even an antivirus update could cause the loss of a couple of $1 million. So you have that option available. It's pretty standard. There's no applications. A lot of the end user apps are not available on that. So that's more or less to give you guys a scope in which you can go and plan with a setup time frame, where you can set up your pilot, and then you can go ahead and go and deploy that mainly. With every build that's released, it will be supported for about 18 months. You get 60 days, 2 months to upgrade that build. And this is something that a lot of clients sometimes have a challenge understanding, because a lot of people are still working on XP or Windows 7 or 8.1. Everything's running fine. And they haven't invested in the knowledge or the training of Windows 10 or the understanding of Windows, that every year you're getting a new Windows build. You're getting a new OS. It's the same Windows, but new and improved with a limited time frame of validity. So you have to keep that in your process, that at some point in time, you have to move on. And we've been through major changes in organizations. I mean, we had to deal with moving of XP. We had to deal with moving of Windows 7. And it gets easier and easier every time. At least I feel it gets easier. Who's checked out Autopilot? Okay, not that many, so I'll mention that. But getting a computer configured as you want it can be simple as just signing in with a username and a password and having that automated. And I want you guys to start using the cloud to your advantage. Windows Analytics. It's just cloud-based telemetry that collects information. Well, you've got to sign up first, and then configure a couple of machines, and then it will collect information from that machines, and you can act on that information. So you get visibility on what's running, which machines are patched, which machines are running specific builds. It's built on the OMS suite, so part of the Azure Operations Management Suite, Log Analytics, for business intelligence reporting. So we can start using big data in our own organization, our own analytics. So this Windows Analytics Suite is pretty neat. It helps you with your upgrade readiness. So for those of you that need to do an upgrade, it gives you precise invisibility on which devices are ready, which devices are running a specific build, and where you need to resolve application and driver issues. Because it's going to say this application is not working. The driver is not working. So for the new build, you're going to need to contact the provider and ask for a new driver. Or you might need to upgrade the machine. Normally, you don't have to go that far. Update compliancy. Ensure that your antivirus and malware is compliant with the policies that you have set in your company. Proactively identifying threats and risks. And also deployment of updates. Uh, some of it is still new in public preview, but you can just sign up for it. And the nice thing about it, it's free. It has a zero cost. You just have to sign up, and there's no catch. The cost is your Windows 10 license. Because you have a Windows 10 license, you can use this product for free. So why not use it? So you can, with device health, identify certain issues with your specific users. And just to give you an idea of how it works, whether you're using group policy, configuration manager, who's already using Intune product? Okay, not that many, but that's the future. I know a lot of us are still living in a domain, but you don't really need that stuff anymore to have good security groups. The cloud can offer that as well. Now, I'm not telling you to go full on into the cloud right now, but you can mesh the two, have a hybrid co-managed environment. So the way it works, you will configure it with your management tool of choice. You have to at least have telemetry set to 1, which is basic. So very basic information. I know a lot of my clients are, being from Europe, we have stringent laws on compliancy and privacy. Especially next year, May 18th, 2018, GDPR is coming into place, and it's really strict. If companies aren't compliant, they'll be fined a lot of money. So everybody will get a knock. It takes the telemetry, uploads it to the cloud, the OMS service, the telemetry service running in OMS. The log analytics will evaluate all the information. And the nice thing about that is it's quite simple to set up. Really just go to the website, sign up, and configure the clients, and wait for all that information to come in. And you have all these dashboards that are already set up, specific baselines that are already configured to give you the information in a meaningful format. So you don't still have to go and run Power BI and all that other stuff to kind of make it meaningful. It's already meaningful. So giving you versioning information, which machines are up to date in nice dashboards, security updates, builds, things that are installed. And you can set up and take full advantage. Yes, we have a question. Now, the question was, is there a client to set this up? It depends on the version of Windows that you're using. So with the telemetry is already set in Windows. So it's already just sending in the information. You just have to select that these are part of the group. And when we look at things like Intune, especially with Windows 10, it's already running a standard, Open Mobile Alliance standard, which is kind of like a MDM agent in itself. So there's no need to install something for MDM. Who thinks this is handy to have or to use? Okay, quite a few people. Modern management. You've probably heard the term before. Because a lot has changed. Really a lot. We still, for those of you running Windows 7, and for some of you probably still on Windows 10, are still stuck in that traditional management or IT, or classic IT way of management. And the reason for that is it's the tools that we had. We are, or at least we were waiting for new tools, especially the new ones that are coming out. And we were waiting for an operating system like Windows 10, where we don't need to install an agent if we need to have it configured with certain things. And that's where we're moving towards, where the integration of our management tool is already part of the operating system. Think of those guys, if you're using Windows Defender as a piece of software running on Windows 10, there's Advanced Threat Analytics, which is a separate cloud service, but that uses the information, or can use the information, that the Windows Defender client is running to keep your entire organization safe. So using things like the modern tools that are available to us, like Windows, the analytics, we can slowly move towards modern management. For those of you that said, yes, I'm using Office 365, you already have an Azure AD tenant. So you're already using the cloud identity. And that cloud identity you can use to sign in on your computer. Now with Windows 10 and the ability to do just that, and having built-in integration to MDM management tools, I use Intune as an example, but just about any MDM software can be able to use that and just tie in, because it's a standard, OMRDM. So to give you guys a view of the kind of products that tie into traditional IT and how they map towards modern or cloud IT, some of you might have certain things in place already, so you're not that far off. It's just getting the business behind you, showing them the value of this past week, letting them watch the videos and sharing all the news that you've learned this past week. Things like Active Directory ties into Azure AD equivalent. Domain joined computers, no longer necessary. You can either Azure AD join or have them directly management. Group policy, most of you guys use group policy. I use it still at a lot of clients, and it's always been good to us. But we can use MDM policies now, especially with Windows 10. With each new version or build release of Windows 10, more features become available. Now, right now, the policies don't map directly to the equivalent group policy. There's quite a few. I'll show you guys in a minute a whole list of them, of what is available. Things like System Center Configuration Manager or whatever other tool that you're using to manage those domain joined machines. Generally, you're using the tool to deploy Windows, deploy applications. But in a cloud environment, you can use Intune or some other MDM software, third-party software. Things like AirWatch, for example. With the new cloud IT or modern IT model, you can co-manage the two, especially with the build that's being released, the fall update. You can the System Center Configuration Manager agent can coexist with an MDM managed machine. You couldn't do that before. But that's one of the ways in which we can co-integrate or integrate the two and get to a level where, you know, things will work in a better situation for us. So we can set a specific policy. We can manage a machine for a guy that's domain joined and he's sitting somewhere in Hong Kong, and he's got an issue, but it's also connected with your MDM platform, Intune. So you can send things like provisioning packages. And with a provisioning package, you can change, set a specific feature, etc. When it comes to licensing and activation, most of you guys use KMS or Mac keys or have automatic activation set up locally. With Cloud IT, you have exactly the same thing, Azure AD activation. So you've heard about it before. Microsoft 365, which pretty much bundles Office 365, Windows 10, and the power of enterprise mobility and security to keep you safe. So in combination of those three products, it's already in use. So there's a large market share of enterprise customers, and it's growing exponentially each year. So that should give you guys some trust to go and invest, do some testing. And for those of you that are into or working for an institution, educational institution, or SMB, or even in the enterprise, this is a flavor or licensing model that meets your needs. And there's a lot of videos online. There's a lot of sessions that cover this. So if you're into education, there was a session this past week. You could just search on that. Intune for education. Targeting educators especially, making it easier. Because the problem with those kind of institutions is the mass of students. I mean, in an enterprise, we have a lot of people, but in educations, or universities or colleges, it's a constant flow, a constant stream all the time. So you need a fluid and fast, something that scales quite quickly. Simple enrollment. You want to get that machine of that student set up fast. You have easy deployment, zero-touch management, and I'll show you guys how you can send or create on sign-in that zero-touch management. So the minute a student signs in, policies get applied that will go and convert and set up. You know, people can take a machine out of the box. All the standard installed applications will be removed. You know, those third-party stuff that are prone to being hacked, because you don't want that stuff running on your machine. You want to create a default standard version of Windows and then apply your company policies to harden that, make it more secure. We all know what kids are like. They'll click on any link, you know. So easier shared device management and scale. So if you're using Configuration Manager, you can also integrate that. And it's a purchase per device per user cost model. So you can scale up and also scale down. The key benefits of Intune on Azure: just better console, working with Graph APIs, new service platform, running on any browser, whether it's Edge, IE, running on the Azure platform. It used to be a separate, but since the integration of Azure, it gave it more flexibility, which is why we only at the modern IT management phase right now. And that's being made available since 1703 and the full update. Slide to indicate the simplified management and security. So because it's a cloud service, it integrates with other products, information protection on the data, self-service deployment, utilizing Azure AD Premium features. I mean, we're all using it already on social media accounts. If I forget my password, which happens frequently, think of LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. All you do is click on a link, reset my password. You get a mail or a multi-factor authentication, and you fill out a new password and you're set to go. So why don't we set that up in our own companies? With Azure AD Premium, you can have that. Proactive insights with Windows Analytics. So just to give you guys the different paths, you can either go cloud first, or you can have a big switch transition, group by group, or co-management. So if you're a company that's still set, you can't go full on in the cloud, you don't have to. You can use the building blocks, little pieces, and get to a co-management platform. And co-management is a practical way to migrate over time. So you can take your own time, make sure that your applications work in the new model. And like the slide says, it's not all or nothing. Especially with, you can still do group policy, you can still do configuration management and cloud-based management. And conform your implementation scope, have your insiders, have your validation with your semi-annual channel, and deploy at scale to your global channel. Who's still using roaming profiles? Not that many hands. What kind of stuff are you guys using? Have you stopped? Okay. Gentleman answered with the correct question, or answered the correct question with the right answer. UEV, User Experience Virtualization. Because that's really part of the roaming options for Windows 10, which you should be using. And the reason for that is there's no investment in roaming profiles anymore. Do we still need it? As a consultant, I deal with this at clients, you know, but what do you guys say? Do we still need it? I mean, most of our users have their own laptops. Not? I know in certain organizations. Sorry? Yes, but what are you guys using? Desktops? Okay, so you are using, you don't need to go to the cloud, which is why things like UEV exist, to kind of help you move off roaming profiles. So user experience virtualization, I'll get into it in a bit, is for on-premises. So you can get off roaming profiles. I mean, most of the time, especially now, we're not jumping around from machine to machine to machine. In certain cases, yes, there might be a use case for that. But I've got multiple devices, but I only log in. I'm the only user of that machine. You guys also walk around with laptops. I don't think you share your own device with anybody. And if you go in cloud route, enterprise state roaming exists, where with Azure AD, you have that capability. So if you're using your cloud identity, you can sign in on Windows 10, and certain settings will roam to the cloud. It gets stored there in Azure, on Azure Storage, and whenever you log in onto another machine, you'll get the same look and feel with certain settings. And then in conjunction with UEV, you can combine the two. So enterprise state roaming is syncing settings to Azure. You can sync Windows settings and also app settings. Microsoft accounts, yeah. So you configure Azure AD join, Azure AD, and you just have to select it, enterprise app data, and that's it. And it takes care of that. And then you can combine UEV with that. So really just to, I'm always asking when I'm in the States, who's using AppV, application virtualization? Okay, so not that many people. It's something that you can use if you need it. I normally advise people to try and look at seeing if they can rewrite or redevelop the applications to a more flexible model, because the old application model was quite stiff and strict and rigid. Both products were included with MDOP, so if you had enterprise, licensing, etc. But since a while, it's been included with Windows 10, built in. Windows 10 Enterprise or for education. And all you have to do is just enable that with PowerShell. Enable -UEV, or enable UEV, enable AppV. It's also available in Windows Server versions. So since, like I mentioned, they're there, running as a service, but stopped. Because maybe not everybody needs it or requires it. So every new version, well, the fall update has it over well. You can just go and enable that with PowerShell. So enable -UEV, enable -AppV, get AppV status, get UEV status. It's not really rocket science. It's made really easy. The only difference is the different components. These slides will be made available for those of you taking pictures. But it's quite simple. It's really, it requires some sort of storage, the agent that's built in, and settings location templates. So templates are required for each application, which kind of tells UEV, well, you got to watch in this folder location, this registry setting, and it will take note of any changes that the user has made during the signing process or the running of the app. So it saves whenever the application is closed or when the user logs in, logs out. So it will effect, activate, or enable that application settings when he either signs in, if it's a Windows setting, or when he starts to run the application again for an application setting. And the UEV generator is just there to create those templates. And it's really a simple piece of software to kind of help you move off roaming profiles bit by bit. So you'll take it one app at a time. And the implementation steps is really just configure the storage location, set it up with group policy, or PowerShell, whatever. Create settings location templates, and then deploy them. So since 1607, that agent has been included. Every new version up until the latest build has it. I've tested on a preview insider build, and it's still there. So it's still quite interesting to move towards that. For those of you running AppV or some sort of packaging, application virtualization, you have to kind of sequence an application to run in a bubble effect. It runs on Windows, but ideally you want to go and change that to a Windows Store or modern app approach. And that's where the future lies, especially with a lot of educational institutions moving to Windows 10s, and 10s has been heavily advertised as being enterprise ready. All we need is just to have more apps in the store, or you could sideload those applications on Windows 10 to run the Apex. So through package modernization, look at your application development process, or the kind of applications that you are using, and try and get into a different way of working. Especially for those of you, does anybody work with Azure? I love Azure a lot. In fact, I work with Azure a lot, and especially the new stuff. I started out as a dev guy many years ago, but I've largely been an IT pro for more than 20 years. And I find that I'm moving back towards that dev environment ever since PowerShell kind of started and pushed me that way. And then with Azure, building templates. And now I'm into the big data stuff, the analytics, getting information from the information, but in a meaningful way, from the data. So this is the new model you want to move to. Management options in Windows 10 is still the same. Group policy you can use, your Intune or the SCCM agent I mentioned. But like I said, it's the ability to manage certain GPO settings through MDM or OMA DM. And this is the CSP, or the policies settings. And just to let you guys have a view at the policies, or the MDM policies are executed by a CSP, or configuration service provider. So it's not group policy. It's a service provider. Group policy service is not involved at all. It kind of handles what we call ADMX-backed policies. And you generally specify if it's a device policy configuration or a vendor or user policy configuration. Now I've added the link on the slide so you guys can look it up later. But just to give you an example of setting Windows as a service into a semi-annual channel using Intune, that's how I'd configure that. So in Intune, I'd set up a new policy, and I'd configure the OMA URI settings, enabling the clients for semi-annual channel, setting a specific data type and a value, and then the URI value branch readiness level with value 1. So setting, enabling that. So just to give you guys a quick example there. Autopilot. You've seen during the keynote, you've seen it in other sessions, just unboxing the machine, switching it on, signing in. It doesn't matter if it's pro, if quite often I travel a lot. If anything breaks with this, I used to have a backup Surface, but I kind of took a chance this week by just bringing my Surface Book. And if something went wrong, I just go to the store, Microsoft Store, and just buy either a new one or a Surface Pro or any other laptop, and just sign in with my account and have it configured for me. So if I'm using Enterprise, I can have it automatically transfer that version of Pro or whatever it is to Enterprise and get ready, install applications. I've mentioned this before. It's kind of new. You have to sign up for the Autopilot deployment program. You require Azure Active Directory, Intune, and Office 365 Pro Plus. Creating those provisioning packages, you can use the Windows Configuration Designer. So it's available in the Windows ADK. It's pretty much version specific. So if you have a specific build of Windows, you need the ADK for that specific build. It's also available in the store. And from what I hear is, and the feedback that I give them is that we need something that's backward compatible. Because this is such a neat tool to have and to use, especially because you can configure and send packages with Intune, or configure packages to apply through Intune. So I want to show you guys how that works. Well, that should be my machine. So you can go to the Windows Configuration Designer page on Microsoft.com in the store and just get the app. Run it on your machine. I've already installed the app, so I'm just going to which one? I'm just going to launch it, and it seems to be launched already. Refresh. Ah, there we go. It was hidden at the bottom. So I can create a new provisioning package, give it a name, and save it somewhere. And then in a nice wizard format, I can walk through this. I'm just going to try and zoom in a bit so that everybody can see a bit better. So I can give a specific automated generated random device name. I'm just going to call it demo PC. I can enter product key. I can configure devices for shared use and enable that. So people can sign in anonymously, or I can remove pre-installed software without keeping any user data. And I can say, yes, I want to remove it. And then I just click next. On the next screen, I can say, connect to a Wi-Fi. Just by specifying the network type and the SSID. Microsoft Wi-Fi we use all week. We got a question? Well, thus far, yes. It's very version specific. So ideally, they'd only work on that version that you made for them. I'm biting my nails. I'm also waiting. A lot of clients. So I'm not aware, but I've heard sometime in the new quarter, I guess. Enroll into Active Directory. Enroll in Azure AD. Or just set up a local administration. And I can add my domain name, my username. I can create a local account. I'm just going to say local user 1 and make it really secure by calling it password 1. And then I can add applications so that it can install applications. I can add certificates, or I can just click on finish. And then because it has sensitive information, I can password protect the contents of this package, and then I can just go and deploy that. Well, it didn't like something. Oh, I said connect. Yeah, see? Everybody makes mistakes. I can just go to finish and say create. So that package has been created, and I can just deploy it You could take a package and even just mail it to some guy, and then they can just run it. So a package can be imported quite easily to the end client and configure the client for you. So I just want to skip back and show you guys some of the resources available. So these links are made available to you guys on the slides. I do suggest looking into the Windows Analytics. It's free. Not that that should be an incentive, but the value that you get by using it. And you only have to set up the basic telemetry. And also the get ready for Windows, sign up to be an insider. And have a look at Microsoft 365. Some extra links that you can look at. The IT Center for IT Pros, the Insider Program, and the IT Pro Insider Letter. So I still have some time for questions. Yeah. Mm. Mm. I would. Yeah. To just repeat the question to make sure that I also understand it correctly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It depends on the use case, and some folder redirection or some applications might not be happy in a specific scenario. So I've come across a few that maybe where that wasn't so good. But generally, if it's just about data files and things, then no problem. OneDrive. You have it in OneDrive, but OneDrive caches it locally. Instead of folder redirection, you could maybe try UEV. Mm. Yeah, well, you can't roam all settings, so you have to use up until now, you still have to use a combination of the two. So it doesn't completely replace that. No. No. I need to check that. Yeah.
We are using OneDrive on the Windows 10 completely cloud side, and we have redirected and saying what you mentioned, documents, favorites,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. We have redirected into the local OneDrive.
The local folder that get cached.
So we have all the documents that you're saving for
Yeah. So.
are replicated to cloud and saved, and are still accessible off
And that's what OneDrive does. It always caches a local folder. Well, that kind of syncs to OneDrive. So it will sync it. Any other questions? Just the last time. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because you can't look at Azure Stack. So the question was, if Azure Stack offers the same functionality and ability as the Azure Cloud, it's not exactly a one-on-one. It's more to kind of get started and get familiar with that environment so you could move workloads to a more Azure-like, start using some of the Azure services that are available in Azure Stack. And well, you could build virtual machines or infrastructure in Azure Stack as a data center and set it up for you, but it's not services that are directly available. I mean, you can have the identity, but it's not a one-on-one replacement. Please evaluate this session, or not just this session, but also all the sessions that you've been to. And if there's no further questions, I just want to thank you guys for sticking it out at the last session of the day. I hope you guys had a great week. I heard that we're coming back here next year, so I hope to see everybody's faces. And hopefully by that time you'll all be experts because all the videos and the slides and the stuff is available online. I know that a week, well for me anyway, is just too much information to go through. Not to mention all the evening meetings that we have to do with one another. And yeah, it's been a great week. So thank you very much. And please try and use the technology and the stuff in your own.